Van D, a dynamic leader with decades of experience building companies and crushing sales. He's been there and done that.
Ladies and gentlemen, hello. My name is Van D.
Inspiring audiences across the country to do it too. Here's Van.
Welcome to another episode of the Van D podcast. Man, am I glad all you guys are with me today, because I'm super excited for my topic today. And the topic today is creating a work ethic to succeed. And ladies and gentlemen, I have the right guest for this topic. His name is Jared Wright. I'm going to say hello to Jared. Jared,
what's up, Van? How are you, buddy?
Thanks for being here, my man. Now, let me tell the audience a little bit about you, okay? Besides winning 4 Heisman trophies 4 years in a row.
All as a kicker. It was weird. Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, Jared Wright is a former UNO Maverick football player. And what's cool is he's a marketing expert specializing in data and is the owner of the Share Group based in Omaha, Nebraska. In the last several years, the Share Group has found success in providing current and reliable data for real estate professionals across the United States. And his years of experiences and relationships built over the last 20 years have solidified the Share Group's position in the real estate industry. And I know Jared, and Jared has 3 children that keep him going and a wonderful wife, Katie.
That's correct. That's the glue that puts this bad boy together. That's most definitely. She doesn't get enough credit.
Well, then why don't we stop the podcast and invite her to be on
exactly.
instead
She's
of you?
actually in the car because, no.
Katie, we love you.
No, absolutely.
So, I want to get started. Before I get into creating a work ethic to succeed, both of us are former UNO at the University of Nebraska, Omaha, Maverick football players. The big difference is, it's kind of a big difference. You played, and I watched people play.
Yeah. Well, I thought the other difference was you folded your helmet up when you got done and put it in your back pocket.
Which tells you I never got to play.
Yeah. It was kind of a nice little bond for us to have, I guess, to get us, started in this conversation. But UNO was a great place for me. I came from California. I came from that junior college route, so a little unorthodox into UNO, and we won 2 conference championships under Pat Burns in '96 and then
great
in
coach.
'98. Yeah, good guy, great guy, good coach. One guy that when you're a 22-year-old man, you were scared to death of. Yeah. And then I met Sandy Buddha and played for him on the beef for a year and realized pretty quick you could be scared of him as well.
Well, Sandy Buddha was my coach.
That's what, yeah.
And I still, he is my all-time favorite coach. And I tell you, something that he did that I wasn't used to is he created a work ethic, just like we're going to talk about today. Coach Sandy Buddha taught us about discipline. And I want to tell you, that discipline I learned as a teenager in the early 20s at college. It really helped me in my business career.
Sure. And I think I told you earlier, my college career was like 9 years, so I went into my late 20s into UNO as a Bachelor of General Studies, but talk about work ethic. No. But you're right. I mean, it's having those influences as young adults to kind of see and follow by example, right? And that's what taught me through our coaches and my peers of what it kind of took to to take the same work ethic you had on the field or off the field to bring into the real workforce. And Jeff Hurrdat, funny enough, Jeff, he's been on your podcast.
Yeah, Jeff
was the reason I got into this data world. Just a reference and a referral from a buddy that got me the job into what I'm doing here 20 plus years later, and that's through the connection that we had, as being a Maverick.
I know when I had him on, he said one of the highlights that he remembers is when I came and spoke to the team.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you were.
Yeah, no, I was there. Yeah, no, most definitely.
And actually, I only came and spoke because they offered me a free lunch.
Well, did you have the French toast or the pasta? I think it was like the two
had
options.
Everything.
Yeah.
I got to have the pregame meal with you guys.
No, I don't. I absolutely remember that.
It was so cool to be with all of you. But for the young people listening, it doesn't have to be athletics to be in an organized something that creates discipline. It can be academic. It can be anything that you're involved in that requires perseverance, that requires discipline, and it'll play a huge role in your business life. But so, Jared, tell my audience a little bit about the Share Group.
Sure. Yep. Just like I said earlier, just being a database marketing professional. In about 2017, I had a midlife crisis and decided I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grow up. But I left my 9-to-5 job for the second time and said, I'm going to do some consulting and some contract work for a couple of companies. And one of those was doing some consulting for a real estate call center. And so we started doing the outbound calling for real estate marketers, and through our data of experience through the years, we kind of put together a bunch of different motivated seller data sets for realtors, absentee owners, for example, distressed properties, which is kind of.
So you're doing the groundwork for real estate professionals.
Correct. Yeah. And just building their today's world, there's no inventory anywhere in the U.S. And so realtors kind of need to get creative on how they find sellers. And so we're able to segment various groups of motivated sellers off market and allow these guys some success. And we kind of take the basic principles of having a quality product and being able to service that relationship, and then building the relationship, I guess, is the most important part too.
Jared, is there a lot of competition in your industry doing what you're doing?
There is, yeah, there is. And so for the last 2 years, we've kind of rolled up our sleeves and really done the groundwork and got the feedback from the clients and know that we have something special. So we're starting to partner with some of the larger companies that have been around that have a larger audience for us to get our product in front of.
So, building my company I've been in real estate since 83, but I started building my company in 93. Companies, my competitors, had better software, better office buildings, better furniture. But, one of the things that I always said is that one thing I won't let my competitors compete with me on is my work ethic. So I really believe, and I know you feel this way too, but don't you believe that when you create an insane work ethic, that you have created yourself to be on a level playing field?
Absolutely, and you hit it right on the head. Yeah, we don't have the bandwidth of technology or the people, but we do have the work ethic, right? We kind of know how to dig in the trenches and don't know how to do it any other way, but put the hard work in,
So when you're creating this work ethic and you're fired up, it's not just for 3 hours a day. I mean, you've got to really eat, sleep, and drink the business. When you own your own company, you're not going to work 8 to 5.
No,
you're either thinking about it or implementing 24/7. I know I was. And I still am. I'm all about business. I want balance. And especially with you having 3 children and a wonderful wife, you've got to have balance. So when you're doing this, are you sharing your goals with your family? Like, are you letting them know what daddy's doing?
It doesn't necessarily look like daddy's doing much because he's got sweats on and he's laying horizontal half the time. But
but you're working.
But you're working. And gosh, you said it best, Van. I mean, that's the sacrifice that I've made, the last few years, is not being able to put down the laptop or the phone, and always responding 24/7. That does, compromise some of the home relationships. So you have to find that balance. And gosh, the patience that they have, both Katie and the kids, has been part of my success, because they do know dad's working, or hey, he had to head out to the garage to take a phone call. As we all live in a pandemic, I'm fortunate enough to have a place for me to go hide throughout the day. But gosh, I couldn't imagine some places. But we have to get creative on. I take a call in my car in the garage, or I take a call in the basement, in the movie room. I mean, it's just different places. You're trying to find that peace and that balance. But gosh, you're right. You don't stop working, and it's a 20-hour a day process. I mean, from the minute you wake up to the second you go to bed, you're you're wondering about this or that, or did I get back to him or her, you know, and it's a balance that you try to, you know, lean on someone like you that's done it to find, you know, and I think it's awesome to be able to have this opportunity here today to kind of learn that from you.
And I feel the same way about you. You know, one of the things is we're all a work in progress. I don't care how much success somebody's had. You know, like for instance, for me, I want to learn something new every day. And I'm going to learn from you today. I know there's going to be stuff that you've said or will say that I'll be able to learn from. But, you know, one of the things that I strongly believe in, because Jared, I didn't have a business family. You know, my family was teachers and educators, which I'm just so respectful for, because I really believe, I mean, my fiance is a teacher, so I'm a big fan of educators. But I didn't have anybody say, this is how you do it in business. But don't you think that when you're falling down and you're making mistakes and you're learning, isn't that going to be valuable later on in life?
Oh, most definitely. Gosh, and you have to have that mindset of being able to learn every single day. Yeah. And once you stop learning every single day, I think that's when you become stagnant and you get passed up by the young buck down the road, you know. But you said it best. And, you know, my wife, there's a lot of similarities here, Van. I mean, Katie was an educator for a lot of years, and we decided to stay home and educate me a lot more on the basics of, you know, lifting the toilet.
So you're one of her kids.
Yeah, exactly. She went from 30 in a classroom to 1.
Yeah,
and so, and it's definitely a full-time job. But no, Katie does help on the business side as well with some of the creative. But to answer your question, I mean, it makes me, you know, kind of sit back and think about it. But you know, there's a lot of influences every day that kind of put you in perspective, you know. And one thing I always try to tell my kids is, life isn't going to be fair, right? You're going to have a coach that is going to treat you differently than the next kid, or you're going to have a teacher that might grade something differently. But as long as you kind of have that positive approach to it, and you take it as a learning experience, then you're going to kind of come out on top instead of making it an excuse for it, you know. So it's such a blessing to be able to try to learn from all these experiences, good and bad, you know. So and you know, some of the balance, like you said, is finding, you know, the balance of the home life versus the work life when you're doing it on your own and you're an entrepreneur. There's a lot of sacrifices that need to be made, I think, too.
Yep. And, you know, I think where people like us, where we make our biggest mistakes, is we're afraid to ask for help. Yeah. Because, oh, hey, I'm a business owner, I'm a manager, I'm an entrepreneur, I know everything. Right. That's not the case. I know when I first got in real estate, I went to the owner of the company. I was in my young 20s, and I went up to him, and I didn't have a manual. I just had to use my common sense.
Right.
And I just went up to him when I first got in the business, and owners and managers want to hear this. I said, I want to be one of the best real estate professionals in the industry. If you see me doing something that I shouldn't be doing, or if there's something that I should be doing, I'm asking you to please take the time to tell me. Well, you know what he told me? No one ever says that. Yeah. No one ever comes up to him and tells him that. And so the more people you engage in your career and say, hey, if you see me doing something that I could be doing different, that's how we grow. I can't tell you, Jared, how much I've learned from watching people fail, watching myself fail, watching other people's victories, and watching my own victories. That's how we learn. And that's how we create a work ethic is, you know, especially today, we've got to be our own boss. I don't care if you work for somebody else. A lot of us are working out of our homes. We have to create a work ethic that we're accountable for, that nobody else is telling us.
Absolutely. It's important, I think, as we kind of progress into the new year, you know, writing down those goals of, what is 2021 going to create for you, instead of sitting around waiting for it to happen. You know?
Now, Jared, 97% of business people like you and I do not have written goals. And I want you to be honest, because I got a lie detector test on you.
Yeah, exactly.
Those headphones you're wearing are really a lie detector test. Do you have written goals?
We do. I do.
Yeah, I'm going to give you. There you
exactly.
go. There you go.
Woo! Ow! The lie detector tech. This shocked me. No, just kidding. That's a shock collar. No, it's important. And not only do I hold myself accountable, we hold our team accountable. And so we go over some of the goals we have for our business. And it's not just revenue related. It's finding more time for the family, and being able to step away from the phone at night to watch Creighton lose by 1 to the Blue Jay or to the Jayhawks
I saw
yesterday.
it too.
Yeah,
I saw it too.
These 4 o'clock games are kind of hard for me to get used to.
I know.
But anyway, to be able to walk away.
Yeah. And that's goal setting to me is it's a track. It holds you accountable. It gives you a track to run on. If you write them down, it gives you something to monitor and to take a look at to see where you're at. And I believe in sharing goals with your family.
Yeah.
I got to tell you something. So there's a guy that I coached. He's in commercial real estate. In our very first coaching meeting, just to add on to what you were saying, Jared, our very first coaching meeting, I said, what do you want to accomplish? And in his dialogue with me was, I want more time with my family. And I'll tell you something, he already had it down. He had it as part of his goals, more family time with my kids. So that's what we worked on. And not to brag, but he ended up being the #1 commercial agent.
Wow, see?
I'm not saying it's because of my coaching.
Yeah.
But I guess, yes, I am.
Sure, but to learn from people like you,
Well,
to work smarter, maybe not harder, right? To be able to balance that home and work life.
If you can find somebody like myself that's been there and done that to learn from, it's going to save you years and years of making mistakes.
Yeah.
However, I really believe that you have to make mistakes.
Sure.
And that's how we learn. Some people learn. If you keep making the ones over and over and over again, you probably want to have a little visit with somebody.
Yeah, exactly. My first business was a mistake of not asking for help. I kind of got too big for my britches and didn't know where to go because I was that macho man. I was
very common.
And then I kind of panicked and sold it to a company. So I know exactly what you're talking about, and I'm kind of experiencing some of those successes or those failures as we move along. So it's a journey, Van, but it does take work ethic. It does take the work to put into it. It just doesn't come by lucky. We can't win the lottery.
No.
I mean, we can sure try.
You can sure try. People like you and I sometimes overthink things. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things that I notice about business people and entrepreneurs and people like us and my audience is we tend to overthink. And really, you just don't overthink it. You know what you need to do, basic and fundamentals. And if you practice the basics and fundamentals, if you just only do the basics and fundamentals, you're going to be successful.
You're so true there. It's so true. Getting back to the basics is important, and that goes with the goal setting and writing them down, and then how do you hold yourself accountable? Because sometimes your expectations are maybe too high. And getting down to the basics really kind of sets those parameters for success. I think so too. I'm not a spring chicken, but I'm kind of a midsummer chicken.
Yeah, you're in your 80s now?
Yeah, early 80s. Does it show?
I'm not that far away.
I don't have those flowing locks, but
well, there's a lot of people that they say they want to live an above average life,
right.
And my response to them, if you want to live an above average life, guess what you've got to be? An above average person, which means you can't be average. You've got to do things that people that are content with being average aren't doing.
Right.
You've got to do stuff that's out of your comfort zone. I want to give you an example. So last week I had a meeting with a company and went into their office. Of course, we did social distancing. On my way in, a gentleman stopped me and said, "Hey, I love your podcast." I said, "Thank you. Can I have your name?" Gave me his name. Said hello. Went back, 3 people in the meeting. We're walking around their building. I met 2 more people they introduced me to. What did I do? Now, this is, to me, an above average. Okay? Yeah. Average people don't do this. I went back home, got on the internet, and got on their website, and I looked up the other people on their website that I said hello to. I looked them up so I get their names. I wrote 6 thank you notes.
Yeah.
6 notes to say nice to meet you that probably took me 10 minutes to write 6 little notes. It says, hey, great meeting you in the hallway at your company today. Hope to see you again soon. I guarantee you they probably got them yesterday.
Right.
I'll guarantee you that they're talking about it.
Yeah.
It took 10 minutes of my day.
Right.
Now, to me, that would be considered above average.
Absolutely.
And we all have this ability, and I'm a frugal fanatic. I love doing things that don't cost money because when you make money off of things that you're doing that don't cost money, it's a lot sweeter.
It is. Yeah.
You know?
No, what a great example. And those are the things I think in the world we live in that people forget, is doing the little things. I've been trying to make people's day a little bit better. Just, if you drive through Starbucks, give someone a $10 tip, or, and believe me, I'm not, financially equipped to be doing that, but I feel like sometimes these people, need that.
Follow your heart.
Yeah, follow your heart. And the same thing is that in your heart, it wasn't hard for you to send those thank you notes because that's what you wanted to do. And that's who you are, man. And that's what's fun.
But you're going to make people feel good. It's not about you. It's about,
totally. But it comes easy. It's not hard to be above average, and so that average baseline, especially today's day and age with everyone, my parents used to make me write my grandparents a thank you note, when they gave you the sweater, you didn't want to wear for
Mine
that
did
made
too.
you itch, and you're like, I'm not writing grandma thank you. But you know what, grandma
Thanks
probably
for this crappy sweater. I hate it.
Now it's like pulling teeth to get my kids to call grandma, I'm like, FaceTime grandma, tell her thanks for the sweater, but
I've told my daughter the same thing. I said, if you're not going to write a thank you note, then you need to tell her not to buy you gifts anymore.
Yes.
I mean, seriously.
Yeah, because that's it's just, like you said, it's getting back to the basics and being above average. I mean, gosh, what an easy statement to embrace, but can some people practice on,
there's a book in the Bible that I really love, and my fiance read this back and forth to each other in Proverbs, and I'll just share one with you. In Proverbs 2:1.5 says, good planning and hard work lead to prosperity, but hasty shortcuts lead to poverty. And I'm bringing that Proverbs up because so many people want the quick buck, and they want the shortcut, and they want to be successful, but they don't want to put in work in the ditch. You've worked in the ditch. Mm-hmm. I've worked in the ditch. It's just like when someone says to me, I want to open up a restaurant. My first thing is, have you been a dishwasher?
Yeah. Have
you been a busboy? Have you been a bartender? Have you been a host? Learn every aspect of that industry before you know, it's just like in real estate. Jared, I worked for another company for 10 years before I opened up my own. So the chances of me failing were slim because I didn't just get in it and say I want to be a rock star. Right. I had to dig in the ditches. So I think a good work ethic starts with doing the things that maybe you don't want to do. I tell you, there's I'll just say the name, Jam's Restaurant. Mm-hmm. Years ago, it was under a different ownership. They got great owners now, but I'll never forget. That was one of my favorite lunch spots. Yep. I would pull up, and some days I'd see Mark Hoke, who was the owner at that time, sweeping the front sidewalk before the guests come in. Now, could he have gotten somebody from the kitchen to do that? Or no, and it you can't be afraid to put in the work and create that work ethic. And here's the thing, Jared. Once you create that work ethic, all of a sudden that discipline's going to become a habit, and then that habit's going to become natural, where it's not going to be a big deal to you.
Right. That's such a great point. There's things that I always tell my team. There's leaders and then there's bosses, right? Leaders will do anything that they ask their team to do, their employees to do. Bosses are the ones that just make them do it, you know? And so it is a balance of kind of practicing what you preach. And like you said, digging in those trenches. I mean, you have to put in the work to have the success. And I think with the longevity of success,
Now, Jared, a lot of my audience are real estate professionals throughout the United States because that's my background. Sure. And I know that that's what you cater to is that industry.
Right.
How can my audience do business with you? Kind of give us a little of how they contact you, your website?
Sure. Yeah, we're very accessible. We are growing in technology, so soon there'll be some availability with a site to have access to our data without even talking to me. But now you can visit our website. It's www.theshare.group. That is THESHARE.group. Or you can call my cell phone. It's available. I'm accessible at all times as we move along in this, and I'm a big believer in in building those relationships with these realtors that we deal with. I mean, last year alone, as a kind of a one-man organization, like I said, we're 2 years into this growth of where I'm headed. I did over $1 million in gross sales. And over 600,000 was real estate revenue.
Wow.
And so we have something that's really good that people are starting to become aware of. And it's their hard work they have to do. So if you're going to find a relationship and do business with me as a realtor, you have to put the work in.
Right.
You have to make those outbound calls. You have to build that relationship, because we are really good at finding sellers off market. And so we are finding the data for people that want to move eventually, or maybe need to move for circumstances that they cannot control. Yep. We have that data. So for one data set, for example, is absentee owners, like non-owner occupied data, letting the cat out of the bag. But that is the hottest niche right now for realtors to go after. These landlords don't want to hang on to their properties.
Right, and it's all timing. I mean, you may contact a landlord that says, "I'm done." I mean, I'm in a landlords group, and I tell you, if you knew how many times some of my fellow landlords say, "I'm selling everything, I'm tired, I'm done."
And realtors don't necessarily know that those niches are there, and so we have a really good phone number basis. So I license various data. So we'll license like voter registration data to get that phone number and email and put it on that transactional record. So no real correlation for you and I to talk the realtor business today. It's the work ethic, the hard work that built who you are, who I'm building to be. But it's funny that we have some similarities in business there.
Well, I tell you what, there's nothing like creating a work ethic, and that's why you were the perfect guest for me, because I know that you're very authentic, Jared. You're original, you're organic, and you've worked your tail off to build this company. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, check out Jared's website, www.theshare.group. And I'd love it if you did some business with him, because not only does he have a great concept and a great company, but Jared Wright is one heck of a great guy, and I'm very fortunate to have him as my guest today. So, Jared, I just want to thank you for being with me today, and I'm going to ask you back if you don't mind.
Man, I would love to be back. Is this the part where you proposed to me? Because I watched listened to the last podcast.
And see, here's the deal. I was going to say he went to Jared.
Yes, he went to Jared.
He went to Jared Wright.
I love it, man. I appreciate it, man. What a blessing to be here today.
Yeah.
You are someone that we look up to always. So appreciate the opportunity. This is like a dream come true, brother.
Well, I'm grateful, and we're going to do this again. And to my audience, please don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast. And please check out my website at vandeeb.com if you want to go back to a couple of years worth of podcasts and get fired up, empowered, and inspired. And once again, my guest today, Jared Wright. I'm so grateful he was with me. And thank you, everybody, and have a great day.
A Hurrdat Media Production.